Mark Ryan here. I know it's unusual for most of you to see me on this side of the camera, and that's something I've had a fairly big aversion to for a long time, and there's a number of reasons for that. The biggest reason is I just historically felt and labeled myself as a poor communicator, verbally speaking. I think that label that I gave myself had a big impact on me becoming a visual artist and a visual communicator. And one of the big reasons for me starting to do videos like this is to get better at expressing my thoughts more clearly. That's something I need to work on, and it's uncomfortable for me, but I think it's important that we get out of our comfort zones and keep pushing our boundaries on what we can do and not limit ourselves with labels. One thing that I've learned is we have to be very careful of the stories and the labels that we give ourselves. Sometimes I think they can be an excuse too for us not to grow, because the growth is uncomfortable. And I've certainly done that. I've avoided public speaking and talking on camera for many years. And the label of poor communicator is something I applied to myself for all of my life, essentially. But, this is an old limiting label, and I've realized that in order for me to continue proceeding down the path and towards the long-term vision that I have for myself and my art, that I have to get more comfortable being uncomfortable, essentially. I'm very comfortable on the other side of the camera, and that's partially because I've been doing it for over 2 decades professionally, and 3 decades if you include my initial interest and education in photography. So, I have a lot of reps of being behind the camera, and that's very comfortable, and not a lot of reps in front of the camera. But I'm gonna start filming more things, telling more of the story, more of the journey. There's been a number of things I've been working on, personal art projects, a lot of personal growth the past couple of years, and I want to talk about some of that. Not that I feel I have to tell my story so much, but what I've realized is I can only truly speak to my own experience and what has worked for me. So beyond sharing my own personal journey and the personal art projects I've been working on, which I'm going to talk about in more videos, there's also the agency I've been building, Loose Cannons. You may have heard me, or not heard me, but you may have seen some posts about Loose Cannons and seen some of the work that we've done, but going to start telling more of that story and more of that journey as we build this agency. And one of our core principles at Loose Cannons is to think loosely, as we call it, and essentially that's thinking outside of the box and outside of the comfort zone and creating new things that rise above all the noise and break loose from the crowd. I think now more than ever we have an excess amount of noise being pushed to us to consume constantly, and that's only going to increase as AI increases and the barrier to entry becomes easier for everyone to create content. So we're hoping to create some content that has some educational value and shows, kind of our way of thinking and approaching certain creative situations, and hopefully has some entertainment value as well. we want to have some fun with it, and there'll be more coming.